In this episode of The Tech John, we discuss WhatsApp adding ads to the platform, Black influencers shining on the Forbes top creators list, smartphone users paying for AI access on their devices, and if Apple should buy the AI startup Perplexity. We got all this, a couple of spotlights, and more for you in episode 183 of The Tech John from Columbus, Ohio. I'm your host, Robb Dunewood.
And coming out of Philly, it's your girl Tech Life Steph.
And out of Atlanta, this is Terrance Gaines, a.k.a. Brother Tech, a.k.a. Bombs Over Baghdad.
Wow. Too soon.
Jeez.
Too soon.
A.k.a. World War III. I mean, if the world is at war, doesn't that make it World War? Am I being...
Pretty much.
Am I thinking too hard into this? Sounds like
we're not claiming it, though.
Right. It sounds like the world is at war. If you
it
ask
does,
me.
Unfortunately.
I'm actually sitting down at dinner on Saturday when this news started breaking. And it's like they done turned all the TVs in the restaurant, everybody looking at their phone. It's like, what's going on? So we finally pull a phone. I was like, oh, they trying to start World War III right now.
I was at a wedding reception and for a journalist friend of mine, and she was fine, but one of the other women there that was a journalist, her phone's blowing up and she might have to hop back on a plane to get back to, I think she's in North Carolina. But it was just like, can y'all just relax for 2 seconds? And I thought we had 2 weeks. There was a whole talk about 2 weeks and we were going to decide and
da-da-da-da-da. You got to keep it misdirection, baby.
Because, that's...
yeah, right.
That immigration stuff, dude, he was getting heat. They had to change the narrative all of a sudden.
They had to do something.
Let me start exactly. War fast. So.
Exactly.
But,
ridiculous.
But we're not gonna get bogged down in that. You know why? Because this is a tech show to where we don't always got to talk about politics when we talk about tech, and we showed up we could try not to, at least a little bit today. But before we do get to those tech stories, I would be remiss if I did not say and wish my wife of 25 years a very, very happy anniversary. We're recording this on Monday, but when the show goes out, most people listening on Tuesday, that is my actual wedding anniversary. So 25 years in, I got my contract renewed. I get to stay at the house, keep all my stuff. So we're doing just fine. We're doing just fine. So once again, I want to just say, love you, baby. Happy anniversary. So with that, y'all,
congratulations.
WhatsApp. I don't know how much this story is going to affect most folks in the United States because we still don't really get down with WhatsApp like that. But WhatsApp is finally adding ads to the platform, and it's from what I understand, is not going to be super intrusive. I will say super intrusive yet because they always get worse over time. But if I'm honest, I didn't really even know that WhatsApp kind of works as a social media platform where you've got this area where you can create updates and you can create these communities and you can drop stuff in there, just like if you wanted to send something in X or you wanted to send something on formerly Twitter, you want to send something on Threads or Blue Sky, you can kind of send those kind of post updates out. And that's where the ads are going to show up. So I would imagine that for most Americans, we just don't use the platform like that. It's not going to affect us, at least initially. But something that the founders of WhatsApp at least said that they would never do. They are now adding ads to WhatsApp.
I mean, did we not see this coming? Once Meta gets involved with anything, everything now has, and that was the thing. As I was reading this article, I was like, they're describing all of the features on WhatsApp and where the ads are going to be. It's going to be in the area that is similar to stories on Instagram. And I was just like, when did WhatsApp even get stories? Like, why does every app have to eventually become a social media app? It just irks me. I mean, I know why, that the question's rhetorical. But it just irks me that everything has to end up as some sort of platform. WhatsApp was intended to be a messaging app. So people around the world could connect with their family and friends and do it in a way that was seamless for everybody involved, no matter what your device, no matter the device you were using and any other thing like that. All you needed was an internet connection and you could communicate with that person on the other end of the line. And it has just morphed into some bastardized version of itself because of Meta, and now there's ads, and it's interesting. I'd be interested to know. I didn't see this in the article, Rob, but maybe you can tell me if the original founders had anything to say about this, because they were so adamant about the idea that there wouldn't be ads there. I mean, you sold your soul for $29 billion. You don't get really much say, but
that's your face.
right. But I would be curious to know what they think of their app now.
Yeah, I've seen other stories on this one. And I think that they've made some quotes and like, this is the reason why we wanted to focus on this and that. And where it's sad and it's like, all right, shut up.
You took the money and ran.
Right. I mean, I get it, for them to, anybody who builds something, creates something, starts something, and then to, move on to something else. Who hasn't, when they've moved out of their house, every once in a while spin the block and go back to your old house where you grew up and, where you took your first steps and where you got your first kiss or, all that stuff. Now you're a grown adult, you got your own stuff. Every once in a while, come back around the block. I think that's what this was. But outside of that, it ain't their house no more. It's a Meta's house. And you know what Meta does is they want to take your data in order to sell you ads.
Mm-hmm.
That's the game. Whether you're on Facebook, whether you're on Instagram, whether you're on Oculus, and whether you're on WhatsApp, they're going to take your data and they're going to serve you ads.
If I'm honest, I'm actually surprised that it took Meta as long as it did to throw ads
for
in
real.
this thing. Because when they first bought it and the founders of WhatsApp was still part of the organization, they were adamant, we are not putting ads in this. That was part of the agreement. But,
and everybody said real quick, as soon as they bought it, everybody said, "Up, here come the ads."
Mm-hmm. So
back when they bought it,
it took them a decade. I mean, it took over a decade for the ads to show up. And as I said, that they are in a part of WhatsApp that I don't think a lot of Americans use yet. Now I hope that.
Well, and that's the other thing. What was the progression of these features? Because I feel like what the WhatsApp I knew from 10 years ago or back before it was sold was not this version. Mm-mm. So I feel like they may have needed to wait until they had features that were more ready to accept ads. Like you couldn't have you could have slapped an ad somewhere in WhatsApp in its previous iteration, but it would have been obvious and it would have been obtrusive and people would have been screaming and crying about what is this ad. But I'd be curious to know the timeline of how all of these other features got added to the platform, because I think that was probably something very strategic for Meta to get this stuff in there before they, put that veneer of ads on top of everything.
Go ahead, Rob.
I was going to say, I think another part of it too is that Meta, they held off on ads until they are so big that they really aren't expecting that they're going to lose people over this. We're going to put ads in a place where most of you don't even spend your time, and they're going to be there. And every other platform that we have has ads on them. If you don't like it, okay, well, go ahead and use something else other than WhatsApp. Now, here in the United States, that might mean something if we actually use the part of WhatsApp that has all the ads. Where they use WhatsApp, which is pretty much everywhere else on earth, it is their primary way to communicate. So I just don't see folks saying, you know what, I'm not going to use this tool that is the default messaging application from my carrier, because that's how big WhatsApp is in Europe, that some carriers, they don't have their own SMS or MMS application. They're not even really rocking with RCS to great extent. It was, we'll just use WhatsApp because everybody already uses WhatsApp. And I think that those are the folks that we might see that might be a little bit upset about it.
I don't think so. I believe they, like you mentioned, Rob, you said they use it for messaging. I think some of those other people just use it specifically for messaging. Where I think, well, I speculate is I think when a lot of people go on travel, WhatsApp, like we mentioned, WhatsApp is the app of choice, not just because they can contact other businesses, but you can coordinate together, right? When I went to Colombia a couple years ago, our travel agent who organized the whole thing, I was like, hey, you sending these emails back and forth. You need to create a group on WhatsApp called the travel group. And that's where you put all the information. These have changed. This has changed. We're doing this. We're doing that. And then people can see who's all in the group. And then on the side, they can make their own little chat groups based on how they want to split up or whatever the case may be. So it was quickly a way to disseminate information amongst a large group of people. So I think the communities section of WhatsApp is where I think these ads will start to pop up. But the reason why I say that is because there are people out there who need to create a way to communicate with a larger group of people, 20, 30, 50, whatever the case may be. They ain't got time to be making a Facebook group. They ain't got time to be trying to do all these other things. So they can quickly spin up a community just for this travel thing. And then that's where you see the ads, but won't nobody care because it's like, well, we'll care, but it's like, well, this is a purpose that I'm here, so I'll deal with our grin and bear
I have to do it
because I need to find out what time I need to be on the bus,
on the shuttle, right?
right.
And at the end of the day, the WhatsApp is still free, so ain't nobody complaining about something they getting for free if it's working well enough, and if the ads are excuse me, if the ads are not so overwhelming that you find yourself inundated. Like, it's free, we can't complain.
Right.
Yeah, it's free and a ton of people use it. But you know what? A few less people are going to be using it because I believe that just today, the federal government basically said that you can't have WhatsApp installed on your phone anymore. And we automatically...
Well, for the House. I thought I heard for the Senate, they wild west, but the House is cracking down. And even, some of them people kind of upset about it.
Because they don't know how to use them. They out here tweeting, WhatsApp and attack plans and carrying on. I'm like,
they can still use Signal, so they can still do all the stuff they was doing in Signal. And this is one of those things where this was really not even political. It's not that WhatsApp doesn't have encryption. It's just that WhatsApp doesn't do some things that at least the folks that's running technology for the representatives have said, you got to be able to do this. We have to be able to check these things, and we can't, therefore you can't use it. And there's some other really, really big applications from Microsoft and others that you can't use as well. But like I said, a few less people today are not going to be using WhatsApp, but the rest of Earth, they're still using it.
The rest of Earth is still using it. It's free and they'll be fine.
Well, Terrance, you stuck a really interesting article in here to talk about. You titled it, "Are we talking more like AI, or is AI talking more for us?" So what's going on here?
Yeah. So there was a group of researchers. I'm just going to read the subtitles at the top of this article. A group of researchers at Max Planck Institute for Human Development in Berlin has analyzed 280,000 academic YouTube videos and reached an interesting conclusion. It turns out that the use of certain English words has increased by up to 51% since the launch of ChatGPT. These words include whatever the words are, right? So I'm going to put this, I want to read this quote. To explore whether AI has influenced human spoken communication, we transcribed and analyzed about 280,000 English language videos and presentations, talks, speeches from more than 20,000 YouTube channels of academic institution. We find a significant shift in the trend of word usage specific to words distinctly associated with ChatGPT following its release. These findings provide the first empirical evidence that humans increasingly imitate LLMs in their spoken language. Our results raise societal and policy relevant concerns about the potential AI unintentionally Our results raise societal and policy relevant concerns about the potential of AI to unintentionally reduce linguistic diversity or to be deliberately misused for mass manipulation. So basically, that said, to kind of summarize it, we are starting to sound more like ChatGPT because the words that ChatGPT uses are not commonly used by us, right? So the researchers are basically saying, look, we're starting to imitate ChatGPT vocabulary, like sounding like a streamer or, every have their little dialects, right? So these researchers are trying to say, since we utilize ChatGPT so much, we're starting to adopt trends from ChatGPT, i.e., this vocabulary. What I'm proposing is we are not learning from ChatGPT and adopting words that ChatGPT only uses. I believe these researchers and these presentations, the presentations themselves came from ChatGPT to where we didn't even speak at all. We're just putting this information out there, and ChatGPT is basically writing our speeches. So I don't think we're imitating. It's like we're not even saying the words. We're saying, "Hey, ChatGPT, so create a story or a research or a presentation about, I don't know, the sexual habits of frogs." And ChatGPT is writing this whole story, and the person says, "Oh yeah, that's good," and they go do this TED talk on YouTube, and these researchers are saying, "Oh, now we're talking like no." ChatGPT wrote the whole thing.
Right.
So
And
that's why I thought it was interesting out there that we are actually think that, or we believe that we are adopting stuff on ChatGPT when all it's doing is regurgitating stuff that we've said, and we're just basically plagiarizing.
yeah, I don't see people like average humans, I'll say, using because some of the words that they called out in the article were meticulous, delve, realm, and adept. And I'm like, I don't see regular humans using those words like in under any like not under any circumstances, but I just don't see, even if you're hearing it over and over and over on ChatGPT, I don't necessarily see,
Right.
the average human just using these words in normal conversation. Like let's delve into that. Like,
Right.
no, ain't nobody saying that. I'm sorry. Ain't nobody saying that. But it'll be interesting to see though, because I think we probably will see some influence at some point of the way you communicate with chat, or like,
Maybe
because
via
I mean,
prompts.
yeah, and
Maybe. Go ahead, Stephen.
I watch TikTok videos now where they literally just record themselves talking to chat, and they're like, "Hey, chat was," and like it's a person, and it'll talk back and forth to them. So I definitely think we'll see some sort of influence. I don't necessarily know if it's this specific influence, but but there definitely will be some level of influence. I don't know what prompt speak sounds like, but we probably will be talking and speaking in in prompts from here on out.
I think this is one of these situations to where, Terrance, to your point, you're probably right, but I think it is not a either or. I think it is a and also type situation, or but also. I think both things are happening. Are folks saying words like meticulous more because ChatGPT has spit out meticulous more? Yes, they are. In the same way that if you watch Drewski, and I say that specifically because he has a certain type of language that he uses in his show, and the people who watch his show, and there are millions of them, they tend to start to talk like he talks. So if you are going to ChatGPT to get answers to stuff, and it is continually telling you to use the word discombobulation as compared to that's jacked up, something's discombobulated as compared to being messed up, I can see where you might throw a discombobulation out here and there. So I think it is both things happen. You probably use ChatGPT to create the prompt or create the script for the thing that you were going to read anyway, which means that was all ChatGPT. But then as you say those words more and more and more, they then become part of your jargon, the way that you talk. So I think both things are actually happening here.
It could be, because I know on TikTok especially, like and on social media in general, but I think it probably originated on TikTok. Diabolical is a thing now. Like everything's
Everything is
diabolical.
diabolical. Oh
Yes,
my
everything.
god.
Oh my god, that was diabolical. Like, and I'm like, and I know, and no shade to any generation, Gen Z, Gen Alpha, whatever. Diabolical is not a common word. It's just not. You know what I mean? It's not something that we just use in our everyday lexicon. Even though I do use everyday lexicon when I can. But diabolical is not a normal everyday word. So I feel like, wherever that influence is creeping in from, there is definitely some creep happening.
You know what? This reminds me, Steph, you may remember this. It was 2 weeks ago today, where you and I had first got into the green room before we started the show. And I said something. I was like, I gotta get this John something. And then I heard myself say it, and it's like, shoot, you got me talking like I'm from Philly. And why would I, even though the name of our show is The Tech John, but why would I use that language? Is because you say it every 11th word when we talk it in the green room. So I have, over the last 4 years, have picked that up from you. And I think the people pick the same way I'm picking up your terminology. I think people will pick up terminology from ChatGPT. So
I guess my argument is it ChatGPT terminology, or is it just words that we have already said? ChatGPT is spitting it back out to us and we're taking it face value because it's scraping the internet, right? It's scraping YouTube videos. So people use those words.
Right.
It's just now maybe I may change my vocabulary to utilize words that I hear on a regular that happen to come from ChatGPT. But I guess my argument is that really ChatGPT speak? Or is it just we're just getting exposed to more vocabulary to use on a daily basis?
Which is not a bad thing.
No. I guess they're
expand
trying to say
your
we're
mind.
trying to say we learning from
Read
ChatGPT. I guess that's my whole gripe. It's like we ain't learning from ChatGPT. Shut up.
I just got to ask.
Nothing.
Have y'all made your ChatGPT or Gemini or whatever LLMs you're using? Have you made it sound like the sister or brother, as compared to like
not
the English
my
accent
chat
or whatever?
I feel like my chat did that because it knew I was Black, as did my Siri, because I never switched my Siri over. And the first time I heard, the maps directions after I upgraded, I was like, okay, girl, all right, sis, I'm a turn left. You know what I mean? But I totally did not change it. So I think they know I'm Black, and I'm low-key offended because like, why you just assume I want that voice necessarily? I mean, I'm not mad, but why you assume that I want that voice necessarily? But yeah, I think they did it automatically. They definitely just did it.
Now, for Gemini, it didn't automatically do it. I had a list of 15, and it doesn't, like, I was like, how do I find a Black voice? I couldn't do that. They don't actually give you any qualities of the voice other than this is what this voice sounds like. So the voice that I use for Gemini sounds like a sister talking. Like just the way she talks. You know how we always can say you can kind of tell? You can kind of tell. It's like, the way she talks, it sounds like a well-educated Black woman is the way that it talks to me. And I like that compared to some of the other voices, which is why I selected it. So I would imagine that over time, you get comfortable talking to these things and they say things to you in a certain way and
that's what they want. They want you to get real comfortable. And like I said, I don't even use the microphone much for any of these. I mean, I do for Siri. I'm on my phone. I'm usually driving when I'm trying to use it. But for chat, I don't actually speak to it that much. I'm always typically typing prompts. I went down a rabbit hole because I was watching The Sting the other day, the old movie from 1973 with Robert Redford and Paul Newman. I had never actually seen it, and it's a classic. It won all these Oscars. It was on TCM. I was like, let me watch this and see if it's really as good as everybody is. And it actually was very good. But I had a lot of questions about it afterwards, and so I literally just started speaking into my phone and asking ChatGPT all these questions. I got this whole chat about The Sting, and we had a great conversation about it.
All right. Well, I ain't y'all know your boy ain't adopted it yet, so I ain't changed nothing about nothing.
So yeah, I mentioned Drewski in the story we just wrapped up, and one of the reasons I mentioned them is because Forbes puts out every year, they put out a list of their top creators, and for 2025, there's quite a few Black influencers on there, sorta. I'll say sorta because it's very, 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 very lacking in Black women. I believe there's only one, maybe two Black women on the list. But there's a lot of bras that are on this list of top creators. We are definitely over.
Now, when you say a lot, are the people in the article the only people of color on the list? Or was this some subset?
I probably should have put the link to the actual Forbes list. So no, this list here is all but maybe one. They're like the 50th person on the list. I'm not sure how she identifies, and because you're not sure how she identifies, that may be the reason that they didn't stick it on this list here from Urban Geeks. But the list here that we're looking at from Urban Geeks shows all the folks on there who are clearly black folks. They may not be African American, but they are black.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
We got 9. 2 in the top 10.
Yeah,
Drewski
9.
And KB Lane.
Yeah. Well, I guess it's 9 out of 50. Is that kind of representative of? Is that 13%? Is that representative
that's more.
Of her?
So
okay, all right. So then,
I'm
like, did we over-index?
It's 9 in the possible. So if you go with the possible, right. Because like the possible, the mother is South African, and the father is German, but she. Like I wouldn't have recognized the woman from a lineup if you showed her to me before. So I just don't. I don't know how she.
I was looking at this. They put Monet on this list.
She's 48 on the list.
I feel like she identifies as Puerto Rican. She may be Puerto Rican and black mixed, but I don't. I mean, because I follow her on TikTok, I don't ever really see much. I mean, she definitely identifies as a woman of color.
So for her, I think she like that, because I went and actually looked. It's like, okay, she's saying Latina, but she does say Afro Latina as well. So I think that. So if you say that,
who are we talking about again?
Monet McMichael.
Oh,
she does mostly beauty, but she's lifestyle influencer, vlogs.
Like I said, so of the list, it's only, I say it's kind of shining, on folks that look like us, but it's like, why are there not more women on this? And when it's not just you're number one because you have the most of this or that. It was a calculation of how many followers you have, how much money you're making, what your business impact
and
is.
Jackie Aina wasn't on the list at all. Nah, she would have had to have been like 52 or something then, because she definitely, and I think because too, everybody steals black women's content. Like literally everything we do on the internet gets co-opted and appropriated, and every dance we come up with, some little white influencer does it and blows up for every, and I say this without a trace of facetiousness or anything. Like literally our content gets stolen word for word every single day. So it's very, very difficult and very challenging to build a brand around what you do when as soon as you do it, 100 other people are doing it and getting more attention for it than you.
And not just people, bring us back to technology. Bots now are creating whole faceless accounts to where they're using AI automation, whatever the case may be, to where you ain't even got to post no more. You just set your stuff up. It finds it, downloads it or screenshots it, puts up your captions, puts
all
it up on the right time you need it to, tags the right people, and you ain't done nothing. So now fast forward to now, everybody's on pins and needles to where anytime you even try to reshare something, tag the creator, and all these arguments, tag you, where's the tag? And this is like, I get it. People want to be credited for their work, but at the same time, it's like you can't even have a thought. So you didn't say that first. I'm like, man, it came out of my brain. Excuse me, if somebody with another brain said something else similar at some other point in humanity.
But yeah, it's bad for black men, and I think because black men can.
We can fight a little bit harder and get there a little bit faster.
Well, and I think that the type of content is different, right? Mm-hmm. Like you're not going to find a black female Kai Cenat. You know what I mean? Like
sure.
Black, men in general, and I'm not even saying just black men, but men in general, like there's not going to be a black female Logan Paul, doing outrageous, ridiculous stuff just to get known. You know what I'm saying? So black men, period, can do more kind of outrageous, over the top things to get noticed and to get followers and to drive that traffic.
Versus some sort of other shadow cast on some.
Women in general get relegated to beauty, get relegated. So you're basically just, I'm not gonna say just sitting there doing makeup, but you're doing makeup, you're cooking, you're doing these types of things to
Lifestyle
lifestyle stuff.
and
That kind of stuff just doesn't get the same amount of eyeballs, especially for Black women.
outrageousness. Yeah.
Right. And when you have to keep on doing more and more to get more and more attention, like, women aren't out there doing pranks.
And they
It's
get
not safe.
vilified for it.
You think about people that do prank videos and get real popular for that. Like, I can't go nowhere doing no prank on
No.
nobody. You know what I mean? Like, that's not safe for me. So
Mm-mm.
like, we are very limited and shoeboxed in the type of content that we can create anyway. And then you add on top of that, again, people stealing our stuff as soon as we put it out there. And then
And you
you add
can't
on
be
top of that,
human. You can't make a
no,
mistake. You can't
Mhm.
slip up. Can't
Yeah.
say something wrong.
you can't be too dark skinned. You
Mhm.
can't have too short of hair. You can't be too fat. You
You
can't
can't
be
look
too,
too
you
manly.
can't look too manly. You can't curse. You can't, you know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
they're like, we literally have such a eye of the needle opportunity to catch on, if you will, if we're not doing something overtly sexual and
Mhm.
overtly sexualized, I should
Mhm.
say.
Mhm.
We have such a small eye of the needle window to catch on. And because people ask me all the time, like, you should be, oh my God, you were on Good Morning America, you should have 1 million followers by now. I'm like, yeah, I should, right? You would think, right?
Yeah.
But it does not work like that. It does not work like that for Black women. It just doesn't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I don't care who listening thinks I'm playing the race card. This is the card I was dealt, and it literally does not work like that for Black
So
women.
I tend not to try to go down the rabbit hole into comments deeply, but I did look at a few of the comments on this, and folks were making the conversation is about, you didn't just go, like, here was one of the things I said, if you would have just selected the top 50 people as far as their numbers, then the lack of Black women probably would have made sense, because if you're going just by the number, well, this person has more numbers than this person has more numbers than that person. But when you start looking at the numbers, there are some women who are listed 10, 11 spots down, but have millions of followers more than folks who are up, because you're not just looking at the numbers, you're looking at the number of downloads, I should say the number of followers. You're also looking at like business impact. You're looking at these other things. So the question
Revenue.
was, well, are you, Forbes, are you creating this list in a way that is excluding more women? Or are you creating the list in a way that is including more women? The argument can actually be made for both. I don't know what the answer is, but I do know that I'm not going to just say Black influencers shine in Forbes, kinda, because it's almost all Black men. So for Black people to shine, it has to be Black men and Black women. It doesn't have to be 50-50,
right.
but it can't be 9-1.
No,
Can't be 9-1.
no. And I mean, and I was looking at I was pretty proud of myself that I knew most of the people on this list. I mean, I know who Drewski is. I don't follow him, so I'm not really familiar with the content. I don't really follow Kai Cenat, but obviously I know who that is. But the rest of the people I actually do follow. Well, no, I didn't know. I knew I Show Speed only because I literally just saw the race he did with Alton, that dude. But that's not my demographic either. But everybody else I knew and I actually follow Wisdom and Monet and Jordan and Marquez, of course. I was very surprised at how much money it's saying that Marquez made relative to some of the other people on there. I thought it was a little low. I mean, $10 million is nothing to, I'll take it, but I thought it was a little low compared to some of these other folks, considering he's been in the game for as long as he has. And, and that may just speak to the fact that he doesn't take everything he's offered or something to that effect. But I was surprised at that number.
And it's probably a little bit more educational versus, like we mentioned,
content, right?
Yeah,
it's tech.
Right.
It's tech. And although
well, not just that,
doing
man.
our best,
it's not even that, Rob. It's not even that, Rob. But if you look at some of the women on the Forbes, just women, whatever, background, nationality, whatever case may be, you look at the number of followers they have versus the amount of money, and you compare that with the neighboring male or man, it's like the woman will have 3 times as many followers but will only make this amount, versus the man in that same kind of area will have these many followers. For those who are listening, pretend you got to look at my pretend like I got my hands up close together. They'll have small number of followers, but they'll have thrice as much
I
money.
mean, that follows
Yeah.
America. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? The pay gap for influencers is the same as the pay gap for men and women across any industry, really. It just is ridiculous. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I have a lot of thoughts about this, but it is what it is. It is what it is, which is why I don't necessarily purport to be an influencer. I don't claim to be an influencer. I
You don't
don't
want them
get into that
problems.
No,
game.
you're
I don't
influential.
want,
There's a difference.
right. I'm like, I never wanted to get into that. Like, if a brand that I can align myself with approaches me and asks me to do some content, I'll do it. I'll take a check if it works for me and my brand.
Mhm.
But I am not out here chasing brand deals and going on brand trips and yada, yada, yada. I just never wanted to get into that rat race of trying to game the algorithm,
Yep.
trying to get the follower count up, trying
Yep.
to get to this and
Yep.
that endless churn of
Yep.
content that needs to happen 24/7.
And it's got to happen.
And you know what I mean? I was
Mhm.
like, I couldn't do it. I mean, I'm burnt. If you look at any of my socials right now, you're like, dang, she ain't posted in like 4 weeks. I'm burnt out. You know what I mean? I was
Yeah.
doing the weekly stuff and the regular content, and it's just it is just not something I've ever been interested in doing, especially by myself, capturing content, editing, doing all the things, trying to get it out there. Like it was just never anything I was interested in doing. And it's just, and you see by this list, as with many others, all of that effort would be going unrewarded anyway. You know what I mean? Like, what would all of that effort be getting me when there's one woman of color in the top 50 and she's number 49? You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, come on, man.
Now, I will say this, that the numbers, the money that these folks are making, and especially at the top of the list, it's astronomical. They're making tens of millions of dollars a month in some cases, when you're at the top of this list. But there are a whole heck of a lot of creators out there who are creating content, but they're not beholden to my content's popularity is how I get my check. They have created a product, or they actually have an actual business on the other side of the content, and the content is just driving you to the business. So it's like, if you want to, let's just say you get a good CPM. If you want to make 250, it's like a good CPM is $25, or that's decent. That's probably little above average. You get $25,000 for $25 for every 1,000 people that sees your content. And this is specifically podcasting. If you want to make $250, that means you need to get 10,000 downloads of that particular show. There is maybe 0.1% of podcasts that get over 10,000. So it's like people are just not making money off of content that way. But if you've got 1,000 people who rock with you and you sell a product, or you have a solution or a service or something like that, and you are talking about that, and you just get 2 or 3 out of every 1,000 people that purchase, you might make 10 grand a month, depending on, if you're selling something for $3,500. Right. So that's where a lot of folks that are not on this list are reflected, because they don't have the numbers that are high enough. But I know for a fact there are folks who have 10, 15,000 followers, but they're making millions of dollars a year off of their content, because it's not
leveraging
their content. They have a product, or they've got a service or a course or a class or something on the other end of it. And
so, with that being said, I'm gonna put my shameless plug in here right now. Go ahead on and buy my book. Don't let your digital footprint kick you in the butt. I have an online course for parents to help them understand digital citizenship and help their children become better digital citizens. So, like, StephanieHumphrey.com, go check it out. Like, I got merch. I got all kind of good stuff out here. I don't promote it as much as I should. I definitely don't do a great job of promoting it, but to your point, Rob, that was the strategy, if you will, outside of trying to become an influencer. I'm
Mhm.
like, I can leverage these public media appearances in some way. And so I have tried to do that. But I just need to do better at telling people that I do it.
Mhm.
But yeah,
Hey, it's a grind,
it is.
doing it consistently, and you end up the whole purpose of leaving your job or starting this career. It's like, the rat race, and I'm tired of clocking in, and I don't need to
Right.
be asking nobody for no vacation and this and that. And you get into social media and you get into the rat race, and you end up trading your job. Now you don't clock into your job, you clock into Instagram, and you clock into TikTok, and you clock into YouTube. You doing the same hours, maybe even more, but you still stuck in the rat race because them videos, like Stephanie mentioned, they gotta come on the regular for you to get any sort of traction,
Any sort.
anything you try, and you got to get it multiple times. So you just can't put out one video and then everybody that saw that video is automatically going to come sign up to your
Gonna
newspaper
run to
or your
whatever.
newsletter or buy your product.
I tell people that about television. They were like, "Oh, I just saw you on TV. Your book was," because when I first wrote the book, I was on Good Morning America for the book. That did not translate into 1 million book sales. Like it doesn't work like that. And I wish people understood that it does not work like that. And it requires multiple touches, multiple, you know what I mean? And you just gotta be consistently out there pushing product
Sales.
and I'm not that person either. So I am in a quandary.
You are not a content creator. You're in sales.
You said you was on
right.
TV. You didn't say that you starred in Avengers. There's levels.
There's
to
a
this.
difference. There's levels. There's levels. So yeah, it is a business. It is a machine. It is not easy at all. Shout out to the people that are doing it and now are able to have whole teams behind them. And because I think about Marquez and like his studio is insane. Like the team he has around him and the stuff he's able to do now that he has. But he started, listen, that boy been doing this thing since he was 13 years old. So with one camera and his own wits about him. So I'm not, knocking him, but I'm just saying the process becomes a lot easier when you can get to a point where you
I don't even think that, because now you got employees, now you got healthcare, now you got retirement,
now you're responsible,
and now
for
you
people.
got overhead, and now you need to keep that money coming in. So you got to push harder. So I'm not to be discouraging.
It's a lot,
but my whole thing is like, you better love this thing. You better and understand the steps that nobody sees that still got to get done, and recognize and respect it, because most people get into it. It's like, I just want to quit my job. No, you just traded your job for another job.
Yes. With no benefits. Right.
So people,
and no safety net, no retirement, no 401k.
There's a trend of full-time creators who have been making it that are now going back and taking full-time jobs. They're not leaving the creating world altogether. They're still doing it, but it's like,
listen,
you know what? It was kind of nice getting
direct deposit is a
lovely vacation and direct deposit and
direct deposit is lovely.
I can actually get sick today and still not have and still have money coming in. And I know that everybody's job is not that way, but a lot of jobs are that way, to where you actually do get the ability to your kid is sick and you can not have to send them to school sick, or you can stay home with them because you're not sending them to school. Whereas if you're a creator, you still got to get that video out there because it's all you.
That video done. Yeah,
that is a trend.
It's not a game.
We always said we could talk more about this. We really could do an entire show on this. We might get a guest or two to come on and maybe do a panel and just talk about this one day. So,
not a game,
folks. If you are interested in that, you can definitely hit us up on Patreon over at thetechjohn.com/Patreon. Hit us up over there and let us know if you would like to hear us talk more about this, not necessarily tech stuff, but the actual business behind how you run a content business. And if you want that, maybe we can give you some content on that. But until we get those emails and those messages coming in, Steph, you put this one in here. Are you paying for your smartphone's AI or not? And when I initially read it, I was like, "Oh, heck no!" But then I had to think about it. So I want to let you set it up, and then let's discuss.
So Samsung may soon and I was thinking about you, Rob, when I saw this article, because it was specifically Samsung. I know that's your phone of choice. Samsung may soon charge a monthly fee for Galaxy AI on its phones. Samsung unveiled the Galaxy AI suite of generative AI features in January 2024 when it launched the Galaxy S24 series. The features are currently available for free to users who bought a Galaxy S24 phone. And at the time that the phone was released, Samsung said Galaxy AI would remain free through the end of 2025. With a few months left, Samsung is reportedly considering a subscription model for at least some Galaxy AI features. A price for the Galaxy AI suite could be announced as soon as the Galaxy Z Fold 7 and Flip 7 launch event next month. Another option is for Samsung to reveal the subscription model later in the year before the current deadline expires. And basically this particular article was saying that a subscription seems inevitable at this point. I mean, and I understand considering the cost of incorporating these models, training these models. We keep talking about these data centers and the manufacturers, the phone manufacturers, have to get their AI assistance, whatever AI technology they're putting in their phone, they're paying for that from somebody else, from an open AI, from a Perplexity, from an AI company. So they are looking now to pass at least some of that cost along to the end user, which, I mean, makes sense, because I have to imagine, this is an astronomical new cost added to the price of owning a phone, and somebody got to pay for it. So I don't know. You paying for it, Rob? What's up?
So my initial thought was, oh heck no, I'm not paying for this. But then I thought, wait a minute, I already paid for ChatGPT and I pay for Gemini. Now, would I pay for Galaxy AI? If I am honest, I don't think that I would, but I need to do some more investigation because I don't feel like I use Galaxy AI. I think that Gemini is the way that I interface with my phone when I'm using AI, probably 90% of the time. And well, maybe not 90 because I do use ChatGPT on there, but that is me manually clicking on the ChatGPT icon or the shortcuts that I've created for the widgets and doing stuff with ChatGPT. I don't really think I use Galaxy AI. Now, there may be some things that I think that I'm doing something in Gemini and it's actually Galaxy that is powering that. So my answer is I don't know. Would I want to pay for Galaxy AI from Samsung? No. Why? Because I don't look at Samsung as an AI company. Not in the same way that I look at Google or that I look at OpenAI or that I look at Claude or or any of these other companies that are AI companies, even Meta for that matter. Because like a lot of people will say, well, I use Meta stuff for free. It's going to be open on the internet and everybody can see it, but it's free. It doesn't cost me money. So no, I'm not going to pay Google or not pay Google. I'm not going to pay, I'm not going to pay Samsung for this stuff. I'll just use the free, version of whatever Meta offers. I'll put the Meta AI application on my phone and that'll be good enough for me. So I think that Samsung has to be very, very careful here. Because here's the thing, Samsung sells way more phones than Apple does, but Samsung doesn't make way more money than Apple selling phones. They actually make significantly less. And Apple will set the standard. So Apple hasn't come out with anything yet. If Apple came out, with, an actual their version of Apple Intelligence and it's rocking and they say, oh, it's going to be $14.99 a month or something like that, and Apple's able to get away with it, then maybe Samsung kind of could as well. If their AI is perceived to be at least as good as what Apple comes out with next year. But right now, I don't even think of Samsung AI in that way. The last time I remember using was when I first got the phone. I'm sorry.
Are you saying, do you not use them and think of them that way because you just don't use it and you're not familiar with the capabilities? I'm saying that to say, what if you did do some research and find out that Galaxy AI is comparable to not necessarily Apple, but what you're currently using right now, Gemini, ChatGPT? would you, since it's now on your device, which, me speculating, I would assume Galaxy AI would work a little bit better because you bought it's not a comparison. What's the thing? Companion to the phone, which
Right.
therefore it may work a little bit faster versus you pulling down from the cloud every time you talk to Gemini or ChatGPT.
So that is true, but the way that I'm using it, I don't care. I get these answers instantaneously. I hear people say stuff about, oh, well, you need to have stuff just be on the device and it needs to be locked down. I really don't care. Does it give me the answers fast? And if the answer to that is yes, and for me, Gemini, it always gives it to me fast. I simply don't care that I'm pulling it down from the cloud. So I have to really, to answer your question, Steph, I would really have to do some investigation because I just don't feel like I use Galaxy AI. Here's when I used it. When I first got my Galaxy S25, it had Galaxy AI on. It's like, oh, this is cool. It does all these things. Oh, this is cool. I can just add stuff to my calendar. Oh, wait, it added it to the Samsung calendar. Oh, wait, let me go sync that Samsung calendar to my Gmail because that's the calendar that I work in. Oh, wait a minute, this contact it created in the Samsung contacts. Oh, wait a minute, let me go sync this to my to my Google contacts because that's where I work in. It's like, oh, my task manager. Oh, it's doing that on the Samsung one. Let me go sync the stuff to my to my Google task so that everything goes to the place where I actually use it. And then what happened was that, oh, we have this we have this partnership now with Google where we're allowing you to put Gemini on your phone and you can just access Gemini right from your phone. In fact, you can even take the command button. So when I just hold my power button in, Gemini pops up, not Bing, I can't even think of what Samsung calls their stuff. They got a name for it. Samsung has something on their phone that it used to be that when you hold it, but Bixby,
yeah.
I don't use that. I don't
think anybody uses that.
So when I think of Samsung AI, I'm thinking, so you mean I'm going to use this Bixby stuff that I wasn't already using? I'm good.
So I guess, we were asking you specifically. I'm thinking about people who just buy a Galaxy phone that came free with a service or whatever the case may be.
Right.
And that has Galaxy AI on it versus somebody who knows how to have a Google account and it works on any Android phone and the setup, then Google has this. And I'm talking about people like going to the Boost Mobile or the Metro PCS and be like, hey, I need a phone. And they'd be like, here you go. And oh, by the way, this one has Galaxy AI
and that's
on
the
it.
thing. They're probably going to promote that. And you might get a quick little tutorial in the store when you pick up your phone. I think, people will salespeople will probably be incentivized, yes, to promote that as a feature of the phone when they're showing you the new. Well, yeah, you can get the new S26 is out and Galaxy AI is already on there, so you don't have to download anything else, you don't have to do anything else, and then get people into that adoption thing and then realize, oh, I got to pay for this. So it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see if they can pull this off.
I my initial thought is no, I don't think, unless Galaxy AI is required for me to do all these glorious things that I do with Gemini, then I'm already paying for Gemini. Why would I pay for something else that I'm not using? That's kind of how I'm looking at it. So I think that Samsung needs to be careful because this is me. I like the Galaxy S25 Ultra. This is the best phone that I've ever had. But if it had no Samsung branding, if this was a actual, for all practical purposes, a really, really, really nice looking Pixel phone, I wouldn't care. It being Samsung doesn't really make that much difference to me, other than I know that it's a very quality phone because it is Samsung. But I don't use their default launcher. I'm not using the Samsung AI. At least I don't think.
Why don't you have a Pixel?
I'm sorry.
Why don't you have a Pixel?
Pixels look like trash compared to this. I actually like how the phone looks. It has this pin in it that I can take out, and it's.
How often do you use that?
Regularly. I probably pull. I wouldn't say every day, but I probably pull the pin out on my phone 5 times a week. So I actually use it. I went away from it. I got a Pixel, and I missed it. And so I went back to this and it's like, okay, if I'm going to use it, I use it. So I actually take handwritten notes on it and those things are automatically transcribed. Oh, that's actually something that Samsung does. That's a Samsung feature. When I take my handwritten notes, I ain't paying for that, because it's like I could do that in Evernote. I could do that. There's so many other applications that I do pay for that I could do those things in. I just don't know that Galaxy AI is the product for me. So, but that's just a Robb thing. I don't know. So, y'all,
Chelsea,
this last story we're going to get into here is kind of interesting to me, and we're still talking about AI. But over the weekend, Apple execs have reportedly, it was reported over the weekend that Apple execs have been talking about buying these AI startup Perplexity, because for a couple of reasons. There's two major reasons in my view as to why they would do this. The first reason, and this is what this article that I linked to in Bloomberg, excuse me, actually says, is that they, and when I say they, Apple could very well lose the $20 billion deal they have with Google to make Google the default search engine on iPhone. And if that were to happen, even though, and I said this earlier on another show today, even though Apple is one of the biggest 2 or 3 companies by market cap on the planet, $20 billion is a lot of money to anybody, no matter how much money you have. So Apple has to figure out, how can we make up some of that $20 billion if we can't continue to get it from Google? This is where Perplexity may come in. Apple, from all reporting, is significantly behind everybody on large language models. They don't have the capability inside of Apple to do what everybody else is doing, or they would be doing it, and it would not be behind closed doors. It would be available. So the thought is that maybe they go and they acquire Perplexity and they bring that in house, and now they actually have a search engine, or at least a search AI, that can compete with the other products that are out there, so that they don't just have a $20 billion loss that it's illegal for us to do this. We can no longer make that kind of money, and we don't know what else to do. I think that this is reason number one. I think reason number two is that they're really behind on other things AI. And if they were to get Perplexity, they're going to get some additional AI brain power inside of the walls. I guess those are walls of that big starship looking thing they have out there in Cupertino. So they get more people who know AI, and maybe they can make their stuff faster and better. And when it does launch, it won't feel like it is behind everyone else like it did last year when it came out. What say you two?
I don't think Apple's buying no Perplexity. I think people they are speculating for Apple to buy Perplexity because it's news, and but I don't trust this. Mark Gurman is his name. He's like the go-to rumor mill when it comes to Apple, and I think it's just a good conversation to have about maybe Apple buying into AI versus building it. But I don't know if I'm pretty sure Apple held a bunch of talks. I guess that's the point I'm focusing in on this story, is the fact that Apple had talks with an AI company. Now everybody's speculating that Apple was going to buy them. I think that was what the whole thing, which, I mean, again, could be an issue. It could be a conversation to have, but I don't know if that was an actual thing, I guess is what I was saying. But yeah, sure. Anybody buys and sells companies to step their game up. So sure, I guess they could buy them.
I could, yeah. I don't know. I mean, it'll be interesting, because if we don't get some sort of significant, AI offering next year,
sure,
then maybe they do have to do, take a drastic
acquire
step like this. Yeah. But if you look at history, it doesn't seem like it is going to need to happen, but it does make for good headlines. Definitely.
Yeah, they bought Beats, so it's not out of the realm of possibilities, because Apple bought Beats,
and Nest,
and
no, that was Google. Never mind.
Yeah, they bought Beats, but even with the Beats acquisition, they wasn't behind. They wasn't in this type of position to where they really tried something with some speakers or headphones. They had already had AirPods, and it didn't work. And then they're like, Beats, and bought them. You know what I'm saying? So this is a little bit different, but at the same time, it's not out of the realm of possibilities, because Apple paid what, $2 billion to buy Beats. I think that's what it
3
was.
billion, and it would be like 14 to 16 billion to get Perplexity. So this would be
I mean, they
their
got it.
biggest.
I mean, right.
That is true. They
They
do
got
have.
it.
So here,
I think Apple won't. I think they taking too much on the chin right now. I don't think they're gonna let that slide. So I think they're like, nah, we need to prove that we can't do it. When they put something out and we kind of reject it, then it's like, all right, scramble. But I don't think Apple's at that point yet.
So I've been on the record. I think that Apple's going to make an acquisition to catch up in AI. I think they're so far behind that they really have no choice other than to buy someone to have a perception that they are at least on par with other companies. And it may not be a Perplexity. I was on Daily Tech News Show earlier today and talking with Tom Merritt, and he made a really good point that Perplexity just doesn't seem like the kind of company that the Apple would actually acquire under any circumstances, because Apple is this place where we are really, 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 really into keeping all your data as private as possible. And Perplexity is literally like, nah, later for that. We try to make this money right now. So to put those two types of companies together wouldn't necessarily be a good mix. But one of the things that was in this Bloomberg article, it also said that Apple has been talking with Thinking Machines Lab. Now, Thinking Machines Lab is a company that started last year by Mira Murati. She is the former chief operating officer, or actually chief technology officer at OpenAI. So would it make sense for Apple to buy a company like the one she's running to catch up? That makes a whole heck of a lot of sense. So my statement on this is that I don't know that Apple's going to buy Perplexity, but I absolutely believe they're going to buy somebody. If I had to bet, I think that it won't be Apple just develops everything in-house and they come out with something in 2026. This is awesome and makes everybody say, oh, Apple actually developed AI. These other companies were copying off of them, like they have done in so many other areas. I don't believe that's going to be the case. I think they're so far behind that they really, at this point, probably have no choice but to acquire some other talent to bring them in to slap an Apple logo on that stuff that has already been proven to work. And maybe the Murati company might be the one that they would get. So I don't know that it's going to be Perplexity. I just do think it's going to be someone.
Well, we'll see.
So, y'all, it has been a minute since we have done a spotlight. I honestly don't think that we've done a spotlight since Black History Month or right after Black History Month.
I know.
So
that's my bad.
We've been, it's summer. It's like we in the spring into the summer, so we've been slacking. But you know what? I keep seeing all of these posts about these about these babies, these youngins that's coming out of high school, and they just have these ridiculous high school careers. So I've got two folks that we want to talk about. The first one is Keon Rothschild. He is a Vista Oaks Charter School senior with a 4.0 GPA, graduated with honors, and was accepted to 24 schools, including UC Berkeley, UCLA, and USC. For those who don't know, those schools are as hard, if not harder, to get into than Ivy Leagues. They are extremely competitive. So the fact that he got accepted to all three of them is pretty impressive. The most impressive thing, though, is this young bro has $1 million in scholarships. So something tells me he's probably not going to be in debt when he graduates. The other young lady we would like to talk about is Jada Simone Bashan. She's from Georgia. She also graduated with honors, a 4.0 GPA. She is in the National Honor Society, the National Beta Club, and she was accepted into 53 colleges and universities. She's going to be heading over to Alabama. But this young lady got $1.8 million in scholarships to go to school. So once again, I don't think she's going to be worried about student loans when she gets out of undergrad. And she already says she wants to go to at least a master's, to get a master's degree. So she's going to be in school for a minute. She says she thinks she can get her master's in 4 years. I was like, well, how is that? It was because she took so many college classes in high school. She's got like a 2-year head start on other incoming freshmen. So she wants to, in 4 years, get her bachelor's degree and her master's degree simultaneously. So I wanted to shout them out because we always are talking about a spotlight on someone who's done something. these are two young folks that I think are going to be doing something with the kind of grades and the kind of resumes they're taking as they start their collegiate career. So just wanted to do a quick little shout out of Keon Rothschild and Jada Simone Bashian.
Nice.
Congrats.
So folks, if you are listening to the show and you would like to support the Tech John, there's a couple of ways you can do it. What we're going to talk about today is our Patreon. If you were to head over to patreon.com/thetechjohn or thetechjohn.com/Patreon, you're going to find a couple of different tiers over there. Any one of those tiers gets you access to our live stream and after party. Folks who are listening and watching the show right now are patrons, and that's how they're able to do that. It also can get you access to an ad-free stream for those of you who are listening after the fact in your podcatcher of choice. So once again, if you would like to support the show and allow us to bring this tech to you the way that we do, head over to thetechjohn.com. That's thetechjawn.com/Patreon and sign up over there. And we appreciate any help that you send our way. So with that being said, Tech Life Steph, tell folks how they can get at you.
You can follow me all around the web at Tech Life Steph, or head to my website at stephaniehumphrey.com. Lots of things over there, product wise, and just ways to stay in touch, information, and all that good stuff.
And you can find me in my backyard digging my bomb shelter.
Right.
Or you can find me, until then, you can find me all over the internet at Brother Tech. That's BROTHATECH.
And I am at Robb Dunewood on all the things. And we're also at the Tech John, the Tech JAWN at all things. So come holla at us, have you holla. Until we meet again in a week's time. Peace.
Peace.